Hi, I thought I'd just make a little video or a series of videos to show you what to do for the scrubs bag. First of all, I have some fabric which is 112 centimeters wide, and I'm going to start by cutting the drawstring, which is the complete width of the fabric, at 5 centimeters. So now I have a strip of fabric 5 centimeters wide, which takes into account the raw selvage edge. And now I want to get another piece of fabric for the main body of the pillowcase or the drawstring bag, and that, I figure, needs to be 75 centimeters long, and again the complete width of the fabric. So I've measured 75 centimeters and I'm going to cut that length now. If you have a little label that you might like to put on your bag just to help it stand out a bit, now is the time to do it. I'm putting mine on the bottom right hand corner of the right side of the fabric, the main piece, but if you don't have one, it doesn't matter. You just proceed to the next step, which is sewing the side seam of your bag. Step in making your drawstring bag is to sew the side seam. One of the things that's really important is to leave a gap for the drawstring so that you can thread your string through. So to do this, I've marked with a pin at 3.5 centimeters down, and then approximately another 2 centimeters down from that. And what I'm going to do is stitch my seam until the first pin, and then go backwards and forwards to reinforce the stitching, and then lift my needle out and then start again from here and sew the rest of the side seam. I'm going to see where I've stitched the seam here to here, reverse my stitching, lifted the needle out, so I've got this bit here, and then start it again. So I'm going to trim that bit of thread away and do the same on the other side. Had a bit of a problem with my thread there. I don't know what went wrong, but it doesn't really matter because I'll trim that off. Very difficult to do all this one-handed. Right, let's forget about that. One of the reasons that I've used the selvage here is so that I don't need to bother about finishing this edge, but if you're not able to use the selvage, then you'll need to either overlock or somehow finish the edge of your fabric before you stitch this seam, because you need to leave this piece here open. But if you can use the selvage, it's the easiest way to do it. So what I'm going to do now is take these two pins out and press this seam open. Now that I've pressed the seam open, you can see this little hole here, and that is what's going to form the channel for the drawstring. And because I use the whole width of the fabric, I only have one side seam to sew because the other one is the fold. So now I'm going to sew the seam across the bottom, which is, I'm going to use my overlocker, but you can just use a normal seam and then finish the edge. Next thing you need to do is turn your bag the right way out and use a pair of scissors or something that's not too sharp, like a knitting needle, just to push the corners out a bit, make them look a bit better. And then press your seam. It doesn't really matter how good this is, but just press your seam open a bit like that to get it started, and then using your iron, you can see my little label there at the corner, just press along to neaten it up. Bit of a burst of steam. So you will see that one side seam is a seam like that, and the other side is the fold of the fabric. So the next part is to stitch, or press first and then stitch the channel for your drawstring. So just push over a little bit, probably a bit less than a centimetre, watch out for steam burns, and press your way round so that you've got the whole of that top seam pressed over. And then when you've done that, for brevity, I will go straight on to the next bit. What you need to do is then press over. Can you see where that's opening up there? you want to have the top of your bag just slightly before where that opens. Press that down and then go around the whole bag. So when you see it from the right hand side, you see you've got this lovely little neat part here which you're going to thread your drawstring in. So you then would stitch right along here, right the way around your bag. Okay, the last step is to make the drawstring. So this is the first piece that I cut, which was 5 centimeters wide, and you don't have to be precise about this, but press in similar to what you've just done on the main bag. So we want to go right round the whole piece. I'm not going to bore you with that, but then you go a similar amount from the bottom right along the whole length of your drawstring. I would normally do the whole length before I did anything else. And then finally put the two right sides together, so you can see here they are edge to edge. So I'll press that and you can now see the drawstring forming. And all I will do once I've got that pressed, it kind of holds together nicely, is I'll start here and edge stitch this edge and then all the way down and then up the other end, and that is the drawstring made. Right, so what you'll see here is this seam all stitched, and when we flip it over to the right side, you'll notice there's something wrong with my machine tension, but what I hope you'll mostly notice is we've got this lovely little pocket in here. And the last step is put a safety pin through your drawstring, and then we're going to thread it through. There's probably a proper name for this. The channel, I don't know what it's called, but we'll thread it through, just being careful not to let the whole thing go through, so you've got to start again. But round you go. This is the bit where I wish we could pause the video because this is really boring. But just keep pushing, and eventually the whole drawstring will go through. It probably takes, now that I've made a few of these, about half an hour per bag. And once you get the hang of it, you'll find that it's really quick, and I only need to use 2 pins in the whole process, and that is where I am marking the channel for the drawstring. Otherwise, you can just put your right sides together. Just remember, always stitch right sides together, and make sure that you finish all your edges, and I will show you the inside of the bottom seam just so that you can see that how it's been finished. And that is nearly through. And then at the end, hopefully the safety pin will just pop out. No, it's got stuck. So I'll just put my finger in there and see if I can feel it. No, it's still stuck. Sometimes it can get stuck in the fabric of the side seams, and it's going to do that now. Oh no, here we go, it's appeared. So pull it through, take your safety pin out, and what you want to do is try not to get any kinks in the whole process. So have your pieces of drawstring together nicely with no twists, and knot them so they won't go through, and then adjust your gathers at the top until you have your bag. And there it is, with its little knot at the top. So if we open it up and look at the whole thing, there's the bag. And if we open it up, inside we can see that I've just overlocked the bottom seam, but you can just use a normal running stitch and zigzag to finish the edge as long as that edge is strong, or you could use a French seam if you are feeling fancy. But that is it. There is a scrub bag, approximately the size of a pillowcase, all finished.